Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. Okay, this is going to be fun. So, this may sound like the most basic, ridiculous topic for a show, but you will soon learn why it is not. So, check this out. For those of you that are new to this hobby, you may be asking yourself, how do I know what speed to play the record? My record player that I got, probably a suitcase player, an all-in-one, has 3 speeds. 78, 33, 45. What do they mean, and how do I know which one to pick? So I'm going to show you today how to judge that with an almost fail-safe method, and then I'm going to show you the exceptions. Now, the exceptions are where it gets really interesting for those of you that have been around the block before. So check this out. Okay, so those speeds indicate how many times in a minute it makes a full revolution. So that's what we're talking about, RPMs, revolutions per minute. And that's what judges, that's the speed. That's the speed of the record. Okay, so this is a typical 12-inch vinyl record. And typically, all of these have caveats, but typically when you see a 12-inch vinyl record with a small hole, it's going to rotate at 33 1/3 RPM. You can see this one actually says it right on the label, 33 1/3. It's good to know this though, even don't rely on the label because a lot of times the labels don't have that information. You'd think that'd be basic, but surprisingly it's not the case. So don't rely on the label, just know that a 12-inch vinyl record is almost always going to be 33 1/3. That's a pretty typical thing. But like I said, there are exceptions. Exceptions would be this record. This is a lot less common, at least here in the United States. This is a 12-inch vinyl record with a small hole, but as you can see, it's 45 RPM. I'm not going to get into why these were done this way. We're just going to talk about them, again, very surface level. So yeah, 45 RPM. Typically, on modern records, if they're varying from the standard, then they'll say it. Like this one says, whoa, 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 that's 45 RPM. Now, ultimately, if it doesn't sound right, you're going to know. You're going to know it doesn't sound right, and you're going to change the speeds. And it doesn't hurt anything to play at the wrong speed. It's not a big deal whatsoever. You could change the speed until you find the right one. But it's interesting anyway. So 12-inch records, usually 33 1/3, sometimes 45. And there's even further variants. Another common record is a 7-inch record like this. They're either vinyl or styrene, polystyrene, which is the same material that like juice cups are made out of, or fruit cups and stuff like that, applesauce cups. But anyway, typically when you see the large hole like this, or for my friends in the UK, small hole, small 7-inch record is 45 RPM. That's the typical, what you would expect. However, they also have 7-inch records, usually in the US, with a small hole that indicates they're 33 1/3. So this is the same speed as the large record, but on a smaller 7-inch disc. Okay, it's starting to get a little bit more complicated. Typically when you have a 78, as we often call them, or a 10-inch shellac record like this one, older record for an old phonograph, 10 inches, shellac, usually, by the way, that's brittle, breakable, would shatter if you dropped it. Typically that indicates that's 78 RPM. Now, I'm not even going to get into the fact that a lot of early 78s were really 80 RPM. There's variances. Gross generalization, they're typically 78 RPM. So that's the standard. And that would be a good starting point. You would say, yep, 78 RPM, and you'd be right most of the time. However, there's also 10-inch records. Usually they're not shellac if they do this, but this one is 10 inches, but it's 33 1/3. Another variance. 33 1/3 vinyl record, 10 inches. Also, not all 78s are 10 inches, because this one is a 78 and it's 12 inches. Let's put it side by side with a vinyl record, modern one. Same size, 12 inches, both are black. This one is shellac. Somebody the other day when I was playing this on the phonograph freaked out thinking I was playing a vinyl record on there. This is a wide groove, 3 mil, 78 RPM, 12-inch record. And although it looks similar, although the label's bigger on this, this is a vinyl record, 33 RPM. So there you go. There's a variance on 12 inches, 78. But it gets better than that. Sometimes you may see these things and be like, what the heck is this? This is a Seeburg record. I don't think we've covered this on the show yet. We will. Notice the giant hole. For comparison's sake, there's the hole on a 45. Takes a special adapter, which you can buy 3D printed. But it spins at 16 2/3, which incidentally is half of 33 1/3. And if you add 33 1/3, or if you add 33 and 45, you get 78. And I don't know why that is, but there you go. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me awake at night. So there you go. That is a 10-inch record. I'll pull it out so you can see it. 16 RPM. This is uncommon. You're not going to... These are, used to be property of Seeburg. You can buy them. They're background music. It's like Muzak. I love this stuff, by the way. So there's an odd duck right there. Okay, now let's talk about children's records. Typically, children's records are going to be 45, 7-inch vinyl records. And about half the time, they're also going to be 33 1/3 7-inch vinyl records with a small hole. Typically, when it comes to 7-inch records in the US, small hole indicates 33, large hole indicates 45. Again, that's not always the case, but more often than not, that's the way it is. And we already talked about non-children's, that's not even on frame. Non-children's records also can be 7 inches, 33. By the way, the smooth granite is very gentle on records, so don't freak out too much. I'm sliding these around. None of these are particularly valuable. They're already pretty scratched up. Okay, so let's talk about children. So we talked about the children's records over here. I'm going to put those in the corner here so you can keep that in frame of reference. So vintage children's records are an exception. Like this 7-inch Peter Pan record. I don't know if we featured this one yet. We've got a cool stash of records, especially children's records we haven't looked at yet. And this one, you may say, okay, so it's 7 inches. It's vinyl. Actually, this is made out of styrene. Small hole. It must be 33 1/3. Nope, 78. They kept a lot of the children's records at the 78 speed well into the 50s and 60s and as late as the 70s. Another odd variant here is this. This is, I believe, a 6-inch record. You can see it next to the 7-inch record there. This one I know for sure is polystyrene. Golden Records, it's actually gold. 78 RPM. So typically, vintage children's records, regardless of size, are 78s. So there you go. A lot of times the kids would be handed down older equipment. It was more likely that they would have something that would play 78s. So there you go. Let's see if there's any other variants. Typically, I don't have anything besides this one in front of me in terms of flexi discs. But flexi discs are typically 33 1/3. I don't know if I've ever come across a flexi disc that wasn't 33 1/3. But there you go. I think that covers it. So a lot of interesting records here. All goes to show you that there are a lot of exceptions. But I want to keep, before you're overwhelmed and you're like, wait a minute, now I'm more confused than ever. Let's go back to the basics. Because the basics, it's pretty easy to remember. And, you're really not going to have to worry about much beyond this. So typically, the main records that you're going to come across are going to be 12-inch vinyl records with a small hole, almost always 33 1/3. Little record with a big hole, 45 RPM, almost always. Those are the two most common. I would say 98 to 99%, maybe 96% of records are going to be these two. 33, 45. Easy to remember. And then Again, if you're looking for antique records, 78. Those are like that's like the trifecta of common records that you're going to come across. So anyway, and if you ever forget or you ever are curious, you can reference this video. I'm actually going to work on putting together a playlist, common questions, and kind of guidance for people who are just getting into this hobby. So if you're new here, welcome. So glad to have you. This is a fun, affordable, friendly hobby, and you're very welcome to be here, and I am very appreciative that you are. If you are new here, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss a single video. We go live, or we do go live sometimes, but we do a show daily. The live videos, you can win record players, records, all kinds of cool stuff. And the daily shows, you never know what we're going to do. But if you don't have that bell notification selected, you won't get notified when we go live. And we typically don't post the lives anymore. So if you miss the live, when it's live, you miss the show. And those are the giveaways. So mostly I just want you guys along for the ride. So hit subscribe, hit the bell notification. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Let me know in the comments below if you learned something, whether you're new, whether you've been doing this for 50 years. Maybe you learned something. That would be good. I appreciate you guys being there. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Happy record hunting. We will see you tomorrow.